Happy New Year and welcome to the Sport and Society Squad Pod, aka the SAS. Each week we bring you 3 sport and society stories to break down and give our sassiest takes. With those sassy takes, we do want to give you a content.
We want to give you a quarantine.
A content warning that some of the language used on the pod may be explicit. And we may also just make up words too sometimes. So
a quarantine. So sometimes a quarantine happens.
We just ask you to be mindful of where you are listening and who you're listening with. And with that, let's get into it. I'm with my co-host here, Chelsea and Arisan. What's up, friends?
Hello.
Nothing.
Just like live, laugh, loving. I don't know. Yeah, happy 2025.
Oh my God.
It was a nice break, but I am glad to be back, baby. Missed you ladies, missed the sass. But anyways, before we get into our playbook for today, I want you to those weren't words.
We make them up.
A new language. What the fuck? We're going to. Oh, this is how can you tell that it's been about 3 weeks since we recorded a podcast? Anyways, I want to give us our first 2025 huddle, baby.
Raise
we
the
will
roof.
cover a few sport and society highlights from this past week, maybe some things while we were gone. So you all, our listeners, feel like you are in the know with what's happening in the sports and pop culture world. We are not going to try to break these down in depth, but we think they're worthy to know. So let's jump into the highlights to start with sports. In NFL news, the New England Patriots are moving on from head coach Jared Mayo as the hand-picked successor to Bill Belichick. And so it goes a one and done. So he's out of here after 1 year.
Whoa, also in NFL, that's crazy to me.
I know.
Like, give
also
him a
chance.
The
Mayo round? The Mayo?
Yeah, the Mayo. You want to keep the Mayo around?
You love some May? Some people hate Mayo, though. I'm not one of those people.
Apparently in New England, so go off.
Yeah. Also in NFL news, the playoff picture has been set. So we are getting into NFL playoff territory. Also, fantasy is, you all didn't make the playoffs. It's okay.
Is it done?
Fantasy over.
What happened?
Did we not? Yeah, like I lost track.
We don't have to talk about this today, but
it's okay. But
what
just
happens?
The fantasy ends when the regular season ends because you can't go into fantasy true playoffs. So playoffs has been the last couple weeks of the NFL season for fantasy.
So you can't actually go into playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
So you use the regular season to go into playoffs.
So it's over. It's done.
For fantasy, but real football
is still going for sure.
It's still going, and we do
Yeah.
have our team selected that happened this last weekend, and those teams are really quick. Broncos, Bills, Steelers, Ravens, Chargers, Texans, Chiefs, Lions, Packers, Eagles, Commanders, Buccaneers, Vikings, and Rams all made the playoffs. So that is the NFL.
Jesus.
I know. In NBA news, Chicago has named January 4th, 2025, Derrick Rose Day. The city, Bulls organization, and Adidas held several events to honor the Chicago native and youngest ever NBA MVP. The team also went on to announce that they will be retiring his jersey during the 25-26 season.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's getting his roses.
He's getting his flowers. I love it. He
That's
also opened up a
cute.
flower shop as part of this whole thing.
Shut the fuck
Gave
up.
out roses. Yeah, it was really cute.
I also
That's cute.
saw the little clip of him talking about what he says to his kids, and then his young son was crying. It was sweet.
It was so cute.
emotional.
Yeah.
Snaps.
In additional NBA news, the Miami Heat have suspended Jimmy
Johnny.
Butler. Y'all, this is hard today. Monday of the recording of the first Monday of 2025.
Oh, God, yeah.
They have suspended Jimmy Butler for 7 games for multiple instances of conduct detrimental to the team over the course of the season, and particularly the last several weeks. If you all saw in a press
Really?
conference this last week, he said pretty much, yeah, I'm wanting to have new teams. I want to find my joy back in basketball is what he said. And someone asked, do you think you'll find that joy in Miami? And he's like, nah.
He said, get me the F out of Miami.
Yeah.
It's all that traffic.
Yeah.
If you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen. I don't know. They're Miami Heat, right?
It's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm trying.
So we'll see what happens, but he's open to free agency right now.
Shit.
In Unrivaled news, Unrivaled has officially announced their partnership with Sephora. So they have been getting some big brand deals and partnerships, and they're really making a case for helping with pay equity between WA and NBA. And we've talked about this in the past, but it's really excited. That's about to kick off that season. So they just had Media Day. So really fun.
My favorite day of the year.
Yeah.
Literally.
Wahida likes a good Media Day.
Love a good Media Day.
Simone Biles has been named Sports Illustrated's
Sports Illustrated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
2024 Sport Person of the Year, which I feel like is no surprise, but hell yeah, congratulations, Simone Biles.
Yes.
In college news, Bryce James, son of LeBron James, has committed to the University of Arizona, and the youngest USA Olympian, Quincy Wilson, dropped a 1:17.19 600 meter. That's the second fastest indoor performance in high school history.
What is that? I'm sorry, that was just
fast.
A lot of numbers.
Yeah,
it's very fast.
I blended those two kind of a little bit. My bad.
Like it's 1 second.
1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute,
going
17 seconds.
Okay.
And 19 milliseconds.
I've only ever seen a dead sprint in some like weird
Which
videos,
is wild.
So.
He's only like 16.
Crazy.
So we're going to see more of him in the next few years, I feel.
All right. So we're going to move on to some society news because there's a lot going on in sports, but we're going to be talking about it later.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to read these because I've already been killing it on reading the sports news. Now again to my territory.
Let's do it, baby.
The society news. TMZ is reporting that Tom Holland and Zendaya are engaged. We still won't believe it until she says it, but if this is true, congrats to the cuties. They beat the Spider-Man curse, and anyone that's watching the Golden Globes last night saw that ring that sparked the rumors.
Honestly, they could be married, and I'm glad they're not
Did you see?
Have your
Did
moment,
you
know, like
Did you
live
see
it
her
up
dress?
yourself.
The little T
The
tattoo.
little T. I'm like, does that mean he has a Z somewhere?
Ooh. Does he also have a Z on his titty?
Maybe.
I fucking hope so. I didn't see in that little illustrated thing he did with whatever magazine, but
Ellen star Sophia Grace, one of the little girls rapping Nicki Minaj, has given birth to her second child. If that doesn't make you feel old, I don't know what else will. What?
You remember Ellen, the show?
Like
she had
Ellen,
two little girls.
Ellen DeGeneres?
Yeah, these two little girls that came on and rapped. Sophia Grace.
It's like the British girls, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They're like, we love her, Nicki Minaj. Like, they were really wild. And one of them has 2 kids now.
Wow. It's literally, no, I didn't know idea. Anyways.
Clearly.
Podcast host of the Giggly Squad, Paige DeSorbo, and Craig Conover of Southern Charm fame have ended their 3+ year relationship. Hugs to Paige and Craig, I guess. I actually have been seeing this on my social media.
Yeah.
And what I'm appreciating is because at first people are like, Craig wanted to move down, wanted to settle down, and Paige didn't. And then they were like trying to vilify Paige, and everyone's like, hell no, vilify. Thank you, Paige. And
I thought
she's
it was
like,
villainize.
I think those
Either.
both work.
Whatever.
And she's like, I'm not ready to settle down. I don't want to move out of New York, and I'm still living my best life. So
love it for her.
Love that for Paige. Ariana Grande won the Rising Star Award at the 2025 Palm Springs International Film Festival. Snaps for Ari. And I guess you guys will tell me if she won last night. I wasn't paying attention.
She did not.
Okay.
But I loved her little award. I love her little speech at the Rising Star.
Juvederm and Botox.
She was like, shout out to my friends Juvederm and Botox. I didn't think I would be winning the Rising Star Award at 30. So I love that.
What's the first thing? Juvederm.
Juvederm, I think. Isn't that like
Like a
lips
filler?
or something?
Something.
okay.
Yeah.
Way to go with the transparency. I love it. Okay.
Sure.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard gave birth to her first baby on December 8th, exactly
28th. My bad. 28th.
December 28th, exactly 1 year from the day that she was released from prison. How wild, but congrats. Also, someone else I don't know.
Wait, what?
This whole that case, you
don't
didn't
know?
hear anything about the case?
Maybe. Obviously, I'm not good with names, guys.
Her mom's had
Yeah. Okay.
That one.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah,
I'm
so
really
1
bad with
year-
names.
1 year of getting out of that. She literally gave birth on the same day.
That's wild.
That's
And
wild.
That was her second partner out of jail.
Yeah.
Crazy. All right.
Go ahead,
Interesting.
Gypsy.
Go Gyps.
Congrats. In absolutely terrible news, Jeff Baina, husband to the beloved Aubrey Plaza, has unfortunately passed away. So we are sending nothing but love and support to her and her family as they process that. That's really sad that came out.
And people, I'm just going to say it, people are being fucking weird on the internet about
They
it. We just
are.
have to send nothing but positive vibes her way. Like, just, I'm not even going to repeat it. The jokes are weird. Like, she's going to be gray vein. Let's not.
Yeah,
Can
why do we need a
not?
joke?
let
It's
her.
sick. People
It's
are
not
sick.
funny. Yeah.
All right. Well, Madonna is sparking engagement rumors after being seen out with Jamaican soccer player and rumored boyfriend Akeem Morris wearing a big ring on that finger.
That
This is one to watch out for. Not that it matters, but I'm just curious. How old is this boyfriend?
28, because I
Okay.
was just as curious. She's 66 and he is
Okay.
28.
Good for her.
Okay.
Good for her.
You know, it's giving baby girl energy. I don't know. I haven't seen the
Baby
movie.
girl.
I haven't
kind
seen the
of.
movie. Since we talked about it and not really knowing what all these were, I've seen so many clips about people
Yeah.
like 50 Shades of Grey walk so baby girl could run. And I'm like really interested. I'm curious. Anyways, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie reached divorce settlements after more than 8 years of intense legal fighting. Oh my gosh.
Isn't that
Wow,
crazy?
that's crazy. 8 years? Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad they're finally settled. Hopefully
Yeah.
they can put that stuff behind them in the way that they can. Okay, lastly, for those of you on Book Talk, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden has officially begun filming, which will be starring the likes of Amanda Seyfried and Sydney Sweeney, to list a few.
Oh, wow.
I know.
Who else
The
is in that?
I think
Housemaid, why don't I know that book?
I think
That's
that
crazy.
is it Harnett? Josh Harnett maybe is another. I could
thought
be so wrong.
I thought he was in Verity.
Oh, maybe he's in Verity.
He's in Verity with Anne Hathaway and Dakota Fanning.
You're so right.
Sam.
Oh my god.
So now I have to read Verity. I have to read it. Okay.
Wow, you should read
Chelsea,
it.
for-
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
For people that are understanding Chelsea's freak out, she literally just finished Verity.
I finished it yesterday.
So she knows what's up and we don't. So yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Wow, what a huddle, Arizan. Like truly, I'm a little afraid to speak after both of you invented words in yours, and I'm curious like what my word will be. I don't know. I'm like a little afraid. Also, I just have to say it's not related to the pod at all, but like it's the first Monday of 2025. I had a dentist appointment at 7:00 in the fucking morning.
Whoa.
well, that was
rude.
poor planning on your part. Rude. It was her
I
planning.
think that July 2024 me was like, this would be so productive to just whack it out immediately. Like,
Ew.
but, no, I know. I woke up at 5 in a slumber. I was like, wait, something's happening. And then I realized, fuck, I got to get to Bellevue. So yeah, that's how my 2025 started. Anyways, with that, I want to get into our playbook for today. So today we're going to start by discussing all the glamorous moments of the Golden Globes.
Ooh.
Then we're going to provide a college football and transfer portal update.
so exciting.
What the fuck's the transfer portal? I don't know. And lastly, we will finish with a recap of all the latest in the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to you, Wahida, to give us the lowdown on the Golden Globes.
Okay, let's talk about the Golden Globes. So there were sequins, metallics, and while not all heroes wear capes, apparently everyone in Hollywood did last night. It brought out the biggest and brightest stars from the TV screen to the big screen, and even some of the
Did you hear that?
winners from the infamous lookalike contests were there. So to start, y'all know I love a fun fact, and the Golden Globes nailed it with the pop-up video gems. So I obviously have to go over some of those before we really get into it. So here's what I learned. First, to start, Colin Farrell, who won Best Actor for a Limited Series for The Penguin, he was a line dancer or a line dance instructor at a club in Ireland. Who knew? I don't know. Anna Sawai from Shogun was a member of a J-pop group, multi-talented all around, and also just incredibly beautiful. Love her. Zoe Saldana is the 4th highest grossing actor of all time, male or female. Pretty dope. And I'm glad she's finally getting her flowers. And then lastly, very randomly, Vin Diesel, who was a presenter last night, is very, very passionate about Dungeons and Dragons. I never would have guessed, but I loved that was a fact.
You're muted, Chelsea.
Why? When I try to blow my nose, it's on. When I try to speak, it's off. The fuck? Anyways, keep going. Live
Okay.
life.
So let's get into the awards. Go ahead.
Wait, one I saw that I thought was interesting was, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. She won for Substance. Demi Moore. Yeah, that she has like over 2,000 dolls that she collects.
Oh, I missed that one.
She has a separate like house to store her doll collection.
I support her, but not in that way.
Like
dolls.
Dolls.
That's a little creepy. Okay. Well, let's get into the awards.
Someone should write a book about that.
They might have one.
It's true.
As for the awards, Selena Gomez had a rough start. She lost both of her categories in the first 5 minutes, which I felt is kind of brutal if you think about it. But I also feel like maybe that was a good thing. She didn't have to worry about it for the rest of the show. She could just enjoy herself.
True.
And then for Best Motion Picture Drama, The Brutalist won that. Adrian Brody also snagged Best Actor for that movie as well. I also learned that was a 3-hour movie and they have a 20-minute intermission in the movie or something of that sort. So,
but people loved it, they said.
Settle
people
in
loved
for it. Yeah. Obviously.
Wait, what did they do
movie.
in the 20-minute intermission?
It's just a break so that you can go do what you need to do.
Oh.
It's probably a blank screen. I don't know.
Weird.
For Best Motion Picture and Comedy, Emilia Perez took that home. Like we said, Zoe Saldana won her first Golden Globe for supporting actress in a musical or comedy for that. I can't believe that's her first that she's ever won.
I was surprised by that too.
Glad again she's getting her flowers, so we love that. And then Shogun ruled the TV drama category with Anna Sawai, Hiroyuki Sanada, and Tadanobu Asano all scoring their first ever wins. I also learned that they're in the middle of filming for that, and Tadanobu flew in from Japan just for one night to win this award or to accept his award. So I'd say it was worth it.
So cool.
Cool. Really, really cool.
And they swept at the Emmys too, right?
They did. Yeah, they did. So
damn.
I think it's a movie or a show I need to like just tune into. With that, it was also a night of first Golden Globe wins for a lot of other folks as well. So Sebastian Stan won Best Actor for Comedy for A Different Man. Demi Moore won Best Actress for Comedy for The Substance and All of Her Dolls. And Jessica Gunning won Best Supporting Actress for TV comedy for Reindeer Games.
No, Baby Reindeer.
Oh, yes. Baby Reindeer. What's Reindeer Games?
I was like, what the fuck is reindeer? Squid Games? I don't know.
Something else.
Like,
you just combine Squid Games and
Squid Games and Baby Reindeer.
Well, to get into the fashion of it all, because we know as much as it's about the awards, it's also about the fashion.
It is.
I just have to list some of my favorite looks for the night. Obviously, Zendaya slayed both of her looks. Her copper.
Oh my gosh.
Her copper look was beautiful, and also her second look was just as great. I feel like if she had won, she would have gone into a third look, but I guess we'll never know.
Wait, was that who you were talking about in the chat last night? I thought you were talking about Nikki Glaser the whole time.
No, I was talking about Zendaya. I feel like if she had won an award, she would have changed into a third outfit.
So, okay, and that was my bad in our chits. Just for the listeners' context, we were our chit chats were our little chits. We were chit chatting while watching, and I wasn't putting down, or I wasn't getting what Wahida was putting down. Nikki Glaser was also up for an award, and she did an outfit change right before you dropped that in in the chat. And so I was like, I would love a third outfit from her. That,
I mean,
and if she won, maybe we would have got a third. And then at the end, she had a third. And I was like, yes. And no one
she
responded in the
changed
chat.
several times, I feel. I think she went
I think it
more
was
than
just three.
I thought it was more than that. But anyway.
You know what? Let's start a fight.
A lot
here
of sequence.
right now.
I didn't watch it, but I heard that she absolutely killed it hosting wise. And that Nikki Glaser hosted?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did. She did a lot better than I thought Jo Koy did last year.
Yeah.
It was a lot better.
It was
More
totally,
women
yeah.
hosting.
100%. She was also the first solo female host of all time for the show. So
That's crazy.
pretty impressive. Speaking of pretty impressive, I love Ayo Edebiri's nod to fellow People's Princess Julia Roberts in her like Loewe tux or suit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So chic.
She looks
looks
so
good. And then Queen of them all, Demi Moore, she looked like a glass of bubbly to me, like in her champagne dress with the diamond like detailing down the front. She just so good. It was so good. And then I think this will be a little bit contro, but Ariana Grande missed the mark for me. I think she really was trying to lean into like the Audrey Hepburn look, because I feel like she's vying for that role whenever the biopic happens. But all of her looks for the entire Wicked press tour, they were great. This one, didn't love. I could do without it. So, I don't know.
I think that's just her. That's just
thoughts?
her style. Like, she's always kind of referenced like Audrey through her stuff. So it's always been a big thing for her.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my favorite color. I think if it was in a different color on her, that would have been really cute. I think it was just like the hair color maxed with that like yellow it just wasn't doing it. Like if it was in a bubble, like a little pink or maybe even a purple, I think it would have been really cute.
More vibrant.
One thing I thought from looking at the pictures was, because I thought it was beautiful, that rose or flower background so many of the pictures were taken behind that they did for the Golden Globes. But I also felt like having that kind of like light, pale, yellowish background really changes how certain dresses popped or didn't.
That's
pop.
true.
And I wondered if that's something stylists know ahead of time, because I feel like that would impact how you would dress if you did know that. So I'm curious. Like, maybe they did, but with some of those dresses, like Ariana was one of them, where I was like, it didn't help when she was getting photographed behind the.
That's such a good point.
She just like blended
background
into it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wow. It's just the cut of the dress too, like the hem at the bottom just felt. It felt like I don't know, 11th grade, like, Tolo or something. It didn't feel like Golden Globes to me. Anyway, that's my thought. Little contro. I loved everyone else's look, but what
really
are
trying to start a
I love Ariana.
Start a fight.
No, I love her. Don't get me wrong.
No, you don't. I'm just kidding. You're banned from Wicked now. I'll contact every theater. Don't let her in.
I haven't seen it, so I can watch it from home.
I haven't seen it either.
Go ahead, Chels. What were your thoughts, though?
I
box office, whatever.
It did, but that's such a throwaway. I don't know. I was kind of talking about this. The one thing that is irritating me a little bit about some of these like award shows is it almost feels like, because it's a smash at the box office, it feels like the art is like, it needs to be more exclusive. So it has to be this like kind of, I don't know, edgier kind of thing where like not everyone gets it. And I just feel like there is something really powerful in some of these big movies like Barbie or like Wicked that can make something so beautiful that lots of people are drawn to it. And it doesn't mean that it's a lesser art form or you're dumbing down the art. It's just that a lot of people could resonate with it. I don't know. And some of these like more happy stories. Wicked isn't terrible.
An award, though. Didn't it?
It won Best Box Office. That's all it won.
Oh, that's all that
it didn't win. It didn't win Best Musical. It didn't win Best Comedy. It didn't win any of it. So I don't know. I was just a little bummed because it was so good. They also have next year. There's part 2. Hey, there will be a part 2.
Right. Yeah.
Who beat Wicked in Best Musical?
Amelia Perez.
Oh, I still don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, it's an interesting movie. It's an interesting movie.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of female empowerment. There is some controversy behind that movie because the director or the producer,
French.
He's French, did no research on Mexico or Latino culture. Like none of that. The casting director even explicitly said that they intentionally didn't cast Mexican actors or actresses because there weren't enough good ones. So they like changed up the stories. Yeah. There's a lot of controversy around that movie.
And they won. Oh, ew. I don't like that.
And I'm not trying to be a brat, but I'm just like
Be a brat.
You can't compare Cynthia Erivo's vocals and the way she performed in that musical with that movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that one is like inherently better, but like if we're just doing the musical category, I'm like, they've got you beat music every way. I'm sorry. The instruments, the people in the background, all of it. And then your biggest stars are some of the best. Like, I don't know. I just was like, that's a bummer. But it's also the Golden Globes. Like, it doesn't.
True.
Some people win at the Golden Globes and it doesn't mean anything.
We'll see what happens at the Oscars.
It's also the international film like critics, you know? It's not.
Yeah, this is a question. Who selects? Is it international film critics mostly?
I'm pretty positive. Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so they have another shot at the Oscars, which is kind of like the bigger show anyways, right?
Yeah.
It is.
Because that one's focused specifically on movies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So those are kind of my takeaways. I keep rooting for Selena. I really want her to win one of these days. I think this year was a hard year. There's just too much, like in music and movies and TV. Like it was just a stellar year. Like we got fed.
We really did.
Do I feel like she should have won over Zoe? I'm like, no. But like, I just want her to win one of these days. And I really need my girl Ari to win one of these days.
Ari's just getting started, though. I feel like with her acting, she's just getting started. I mean, we obviously
she had
know.
A show. Yeah, and she's been on Broadway. So,
but like, I feel like in the world of like acting, she's a rising star. Like the Palm Springs Film Festival said, she's a rising star. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean other people who's been their first time nominated haven't won. So I'm just like,
true.
I want her to win. I'm a huge motherfucking stan, clearly. But you know, it was a good. I thought it was a good show. I don't know. Last year there was something that felt a little bit more silly about it than this year. It just felt there was just a little bit of a vibe that I wasn't totally tuned in with. But overall, it was fun. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught that at all, Wahida. Like, or were you like, this is fun?
Yeah, it was fun. I was able to it kept my attention the entire time. I can't say that I had as much fun as I have in past years, but also, I don't know, 2025 is looking to be an odd year. So maybe that's
an odd numbered year.
Yeah.
Oh, anyways, I didn't tune in, but I did watch certain clips on social media, and I did see Zoe Saldana's acceptance speech, and it was super sweet, and her just saying how like empowering other women and like wanting to lift everyone up. And I just love that. And I think it's always a great problem to have when you have too much good art. Because I feel like a couple years ago, or maybe the other 2 or 3 years ago, it felt like there was like no good movies. And so we were like grasping for straws. So I'd like to see the upward swing on that. But with that, I will be transitioning into
that's perfect segue.
Our next topic about the transfer portal and what's going on in the college football world right now. So to set the scene a little bit, Chelsea, do you know what the transfer portal is?
No, that's what my notes say. What the heck is a transfer portal?
Let's start there.
It sounds like Xenon.
Okay.
Like, we like that.
Get in the transport portal. Like, go up.
So I'll just give a little like a background on what the transfer portal is, kind of go into pros and cons of that, and then briefly touch on the college football playoffs, because they kind of all blend together. So when you hear, I know, buckle in, buttercups. When you hear transfer portal, we're talking about the NCAA student athletes transfer portal. So in 2018, the NCAA introduced the transfer portal, where a student athlete could alert their school and say they want to insert into this portal, letting other schools know that they are open to transfer. So it's pretty much like you say, I want to transfer, and it puts you on a list. So then everyone of like other college coaches, other colleges can see in like one list who is all saying I want to transfer and is eligible for transferring.
can your team then see that you go on the transfer portal?
So
You have
before
to
you
let-
go into the transfer portal, you have to let your team
Jesus.
know. Yeah. So just like
Isn't
I said,
that
buckle
wild?
up.
You have to say
Buckle
like,
up.
F
Wait,
you.
wait.
Yeah.
Wait. Y'all calm down because it gets
Okay.
even more exciting. So that was
We
I
love
got
drama.
my pin out to like so that was in 2018, and that was just kind of, it still had the same transfer rules about like redshirting when it first got introduced. Now in 2021, the NCAA changed their rule that you could insert go into the transfer portal and get 1 free year of eligibility without having to redshirt. So you could get into the transfer portal once and not have to worry about like.
Is that why we got like 25-year-olds in college?
Wait, yeah. So
Yeah.
just
Can-
let me break it down.
Harrison, really quickly, before you get into that,
I
can you
fucking hate
also
my guy.
explain? No, can you just explain what redshirting is for folks who
yes,
might
yes,
not
yes.
know?
Okay,
For sure.
that's nice.
They just put a red shirt on.
Fake it.
Redshirting means when you, in the past, when a student athlete wants to transfer, they can't transfer to a new school and then instantly play the following year. They have to, it's like a student eligibility. I can't remember the exact term it was called. You have to wait 1 year. So that's what the red shirt is, of not being able to play. So going to the school before you can then play for a second year. So if you said you wanted to transfer, you say, I wanted to transfer from Oregon to like UW, you couldn't just immediately the next year play. You got redshirted, so you had to sit a year and then you could play the following year.
Jesus.
So that was
Thank
like
you.
the standard. That way, because you got to think transfers, a lot of colleges don't, like transfer credits don't take. You got to get your academics in order. And so it was a way that you couldn't just like jump to a transfer. And
It's- So you can
Yeah.
focus on the student part of
the student athlete.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
And the
Sorry.
adjustment. So then in 2021, they switched it so you could get one time, once you go on the transfer portal, one time you didn't have to redshirt. You could like instantly play the next year.
Wow.
What was interesting with that timing in 2021, because if you all remember, what also happened in 2021 is NILs. So
Yeah.
name, image, likeness, that approval from the Supreme Court got overturned. So then all of a sudden kids were eligible for NIL. So this happened at the same time the transfer portal. So that means people are entering the transfer portal, and then now all of a sudden they can get partnerships. That was in 2021.
Jeez.
Now it's like the wild fucking west. Because this past year, I guess technically last year in 2024, wild,
Whoa.
they got rid of the 1 year, the one-time limit. So you can transfer as many times as you want without a penalty, meaning you don't have to necessarily redshirt. Now, you do still have to have like your academic eligibility in sports, but some schools are getting better about accepting more credits, trying to like game the system. So now it's really like a true free agency, and there's like people can transfer in football. As of like most recently in football, 25% of scholarship players enter the portal annually.
That's like 2,000 something players, right? Like
And-
2,300.
No, yeah, that's for football. So athletes can lose between 60 to 70% of their credits when transferring, but then certain schools are trying to change that, because that's usually what happens even when you're not an athlete and you're transferred to another school academically. That's why it's kind of like, you usually lose at least a quarter a semester, if not more, worth of classes that you've taken.
Really?
When you transfer, because your credits don't always match up and like what the eligibilities are.
I guess,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a transfer student, okay? I did transfer. I just don't remember that.
Yeah, I transferred too, and it was I ended college with so many like credits
Random
that didn't actually
credits.
apply to
Might
my degree because they didn't like count.
Jesus.
So here's some like more in the 2023 alone, more than 31,000 student athletes entered the transfer portal, and with approximately 45% successfully moving to new schools. So only 45%. So and at that
Holy,
time,
that's a lot.
only-
That's like almost half.
okay, but listen to this. And it said in 2023, over 17,000 student athletes that entered the transfer portal were left with no option but to never play competitively again, because it is such a gamble and a risk.
Mhm.
Because just because you declare that you want to transfer, one, doesn't mean anyone has to pick you up. And
would
two,
never do
doesn't
this.
mean that your school, if you don't get picked up, will take you back after you said, I want out.
Yeah.
So
That was,
this is,
sorry. I just like immediate thought that was the thing that kind of stuck out to me was that like it's such a huge gamble, especially because like one, you don't even know if your credit's going to transfer if you do get to go. And then
Yeah.
two, you don't know for sure, especially because coaches can't technically talk to you until you declare for the transfer portal. So you don't even know what your options are until you declare. So you don't know if you have options or not, which is wild to me. Like folks are just like throwing it
yeah.
3 sheets to the wind, like whatever, let's see if it sticks.
Well, I will say one thing that I was reading was saying that there's definitely, with the portal recruitment, has created like kind of this shadow system of communication that begins long before players officially enter. They have like, programs that have full-time staff that are just focusing on candidates from other schools, watching film of potential transfers. And so schools are, using social media to follow patterns or, the like relationships of people that are currently on the team. And there's always been the like, here's some like cash backdoor type things going on. Professional leagues have rules against this and have like ways like NBA and NFL teams get fined and lose draft picks for this kind of tampering behavior. But right now, it's kind of like I said, the Wild West in college sports, and no rules exist kind of in that gray in between. It's like it's not allowed, but there's like that in between. Whereas like if it was the NBA and NFL, there would be things. So obviously we've talked about this, the competitive gap with the NIL and portal, because then all of a sudden these schools, like I can't remember what school it was, but they're setting like $10 million to $12 million aside for like NILs or like
Jesus.
with the transfer portal. It's changing how high school recruiting's done. So people aren't getting recruited in high school in the same kind of way, because why recruit from high school when you have this transfer portal of people that have already played college sports and are going to have those couple years of college sports under your belt. So it's all really interesting. So that's how you see people like going to 3-4 different schools. There's some schools, we have talked about this too. Nick Saban, former Alabama coach, said that was one of the reasons why he left, because, people would go in and say, I want to transfer. What's your best offer? It's
how do you even build a team? Like,
well,
because you're thinking about like you're trying to build like a team for 4 years, and then you.
I think that's what we're gonna see. Like some of those teams that are those bigger names, right? Like folks are gonna want to transfer in and out of those schools, and I feel like that's gonna start to impact the game in and of itself. Like
it has already.
They have the names, right? But like they're not going to be playing as well because there's no chemistry built. Like you're not building any chemistry. You're not playing together. I feel like it's just going to impact even more so than it is currently.
Well, and I was reading up about it. There's some schools like Clemson, for example, whose coach is like really against it. Though this season he got a little bit more transfers, but he wasn't like, I think last year, had one person that was on the transfer portal. He's like, no, I don't, because it is building that culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there's other teams that are like, I think they were saying like Oregon is like they're a transfer portal whiz. So some of these schools that are like bigger schools that have a little bit money behind them, they're using the transfer portal from like 1 year. You can be a kind of a shitty or mediocre team. And then based on how you play the transfer portal, all of a sudden you're looking at being in the college playoffs. And so there's like coaches, and this is not just football, but like we're in football season, because I've seen
so it's just all about the money again.
Basketball coaches talk about this. It's not about culture. You also have kids that almost like that immediate gratification of, well, I didn't get enough playing time, and there's some value to like you come in and you kind of got to like work your way in. Now, granted, on the flip side, if you're in a toxic culture or you have a bad coach, you want that out. But it's really changing, that team building, that team culture. Give me the money. It feels me. And so, yeah. Give me your thoughts.
I just think about like, okay, we talked about maybe in another podcast how many of these players don't ever make it to the league, right? Like this is their highest level of football or whatever sport they're going to play. Eventually they're going to have to enter the workforce. And one of the, like, I think one of the characteristics that make you a really great like worker, like just person, right? Is that you have grit. And like, if they're not being required to like stick it out in some of these challenging situations, how does that impact them in the workforce? One, and then two, also in life. Like if you're able to just kind of like say, I give up, I don't want to do this because it's hard. What does that fare like for you later on in life when you do face something that's challenging? Like I think about it even from outside of the sport world, right? Like it's going to have those trickle effects on a generation beyond just like the folks that are doing this right now in the sport or in the transfer portal, whatever, because things are just they're having so many options to just do something that's quick and easy rather than stick it out and try to work towards something. So to your point, like Harrison, you were saying, they're not building that in the team or on the team, but also like think about how that impacts outside of that, even like in the workforce, in their lives.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be so interested to see like what are the stats of those people who like enter the transfer portal and then never play again. Like what's the stats of them going back to like finishing college?
Yeah.
Like because the opportunity, like sometimes I know that college sports, like you don't always think like, oh well, the purpose is to get an education, but it is still a purpose to get an education. It's recognizing that your skill may not be always just in academics. It could be this other thing that'd be really great for the school too. And like at the end of the day, not all of you are going to go to the NFL. So you do have to have some type of skill to get into the workforce. And if this is just like, are they getting like, do they have people to talk to them? If their coach can't talk to them, who's giving them this advice of like, how's your school going to be impacted? Because like at the end of the day, that is the goal.
I don't think students or athletes are aware of all the pros and cons, because I did read somewhere that there's like no orientation to this transfer portal, right? Like you decide or you don't. There's no conversation about like
That just
what the
sucks.
potential consequences are if you do declare
for the players.
Yeah,
it just sucks for the players
because they're so young.
Yeah,
Like,
18,
what do you mean?
most of
We're not
them
giving them
18 to
anything.
21 years
Yeah.
old. And it's, like to your point, they are student athletes. That's what the idea is. Yes, with NILs, yes, we've talked about like they should get compensated for, it's because it's a money business. But at the end of the day, they're student athletes. Not only the people that don't get accepted in the transfer portal, their education's impacted for the people that transfer 2, 3, 4 times, because some of them aren't finishing. Because you think if you transferred 3 times, in order to finish out your college, you're like almost doubling the amount of time you're in school because of academic credits. And if you're making a certain amount of money, I was seeing Deion Sanders, the coach for Colorado, talking about how so many of these kids don't go in with a plan. And even his own daughter went into the transfer portal, and he said like, that was stupid. Like she didn't have a plan. Like she just didn't get enough playing time and just went into the transfer portal. And you're not coached on this. All of a sudden, they're having to like think about branding, and sure, those are life lessons. But to your guys' point, like what is the long-term impact on this? Because then all of a sudden you're trying to be like, I had to move here, I'm not happy. Or I got to move here, I'm not happy. Can you actually, too, when you get inserted into, and you guys all know this, when you're starting a new company, like we like to talk about company culture, you don't like sometimes you do, and it's really nice when you do, but you don't instantly click and understand you get it and feel welcome.
There's a honeymoon phase, right?
There's a honeymoon phase. There's like figuring out how it works, changing, cultures or how things are done. Like that takes time. And if all of a sudden you go in and being like, well, this is not it. And like, that's kind of the mindset you have going into it. Like, I need to feel this. Like it takes away the personal responsibility too.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
It's like, it has to be perfect for me. Like I don't have to adapt to it. Yeah. There's no requirement for that because they have so many options. Yeah.
They're not learning the resiliency. So it's like really interesting. The window closed for the football portal. However, because people are like, wow, the transfer portal window was being opened during college playoffs. For the college playoffs and championship, there is a rule that you get like 14 days after the conclusion to still insert your transfer portal. But right now, we're almost into we have the Cotton Bowl coming up. which is Texas versus Ohio State. And then we got Penn State and Notre Dame. And then after that, so it's a week after that will be the championship. And complete side note because I haven't talked about this because we've had a 2-week break. Y'all, when we talked about sexiest athlete, and then I'm like feeling like more connected to sexiest coaches these because of age-wise. The Notre Dame head coach. Yeah, the Notre Dame head coach.
Yes.
Googling.
Yes.
Google the Notre Dame head coach because damn. Anyways, that stay tuned. It's really interesting again because this whole like wild west free agency really that happened this last year. So now it was already happening, but now it's going to be just wild.
I guess we'll have to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. And you guys, I feel like this has been a long episode, but if you can believe it, we're about to enter into hopefully something that isn't so long. I'm going to try to go through this fast, but there's a lot of context and space that needs to be held to understand
Chelsea,
where we are. Okay, so today I'm going to cover all the latest and greatest of the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni drama. And I think it's important to kind of like, just for the listeners, if they're not aware, give kind of the background, where we started, how this all happened. So are you with us, Arisan?
I was just texting the group chat the pictures of the Notre Dame head coach for you guys.
He's a strong jaw. Anyways, so he's a very strong jaw.
I'm locked in.
This was like, are you frozen? I can't tell. Anyways, the background of this drama. So author Colleen Hoover released a novel titled It Ends With Us in 2016. The novel does touch on some domestic violence and just tough subjects, and was actually inspired by her own mother's escape from abuse. So it's kind of a personal story. There's some other tea there we're not going to go into today, but that is kind of the context for the novel. In 2019, Justin Baldoni and his production company optioned the novel for film adaptation, and then he would later go on to direct and star as like the main male character, Ryle, in the movie. So this has been a long time coming. In January of 2023, it was announced that Blake Lively would star as the main female character. I didn't read the book. I read another Colleen Hoover book, though. And I remember some of the swirlies, like in my book sphere, were not happy with either casting, like Justin and Blake. I remember them both thinking like too old, which I'm like, that's kind of weird. But like also, they all read the book. I didn't know the vibes. Okay. So I just remember initially people were like, I get it, but I don't love it. Filming began in May 2023, wrapped up. The film released in August 2024. So that's kind of like just background for anyone who doesn't know where this all came from. Then we're going to move into a section that I'm calling Drama Part 1. Because there are 2 parts so far, and I feel like there could be 5, 6, 7.
Oh my God.
Literally. So part 1 is that rumors started kind of coming about between Blake, and there being like some kind of drama between Blake and Justin in August of 2024. So that's when the film was starting to be like marketed and released. And what kind of started this drama was speculation by the fans, because they all noticed that Blake was following everybody in the cast but Justin. And no one in the cast was following Justin. Not even Colleen Hoover was following Justin. So people were like, what the hell? What is that? And to be honest with you, like, what the hell?
I think
it
even
is kind of
more
weird.
Scandalous because not only was he an actor in the movie, he was also the director. So like,
he was the fucking director. Like, that's your boss. I mean, you don't have to follow your boss on Instagram, but like, it is interesting. So that was one part. More drama started swirling, though, when fans became a little turned off by the way they were both promoting. So the way Blake was promoting the film, and then versus like the way Justin was promoting the film. So Blake in particular, at this point, in my opinion, kind of, it got darker for her at this point, I think. And it's because she did also release a hair brand at the same time called Blake Brown. And in articles I read this morning, the timing of that release and the movie were supposed to be different. So this movie was supposed to originally come out on like Valentine's Day weekend, and this hair care brand was always supposed to come out later. And then because of delays, they ended up coming at the same time. And so she went with cross promotion. So she was promoting this like new hair care brand in alignment with this new film, maybe sneaking in a little of her other brands, so like her non-alcoholic drinks. And people were just like a little turned off because it's like the subject matter of the movie is about domestic violence. And we're talking about hair care brands and like doing your hair before you see the movie, like grab your girls, do your hair, like
Wear your
get your
florals.
florals. Yeah, get to the theater. I hear that. Like that did turn me off to it because it's like I don't know if that's this is a movie. I can see if you didn't experience this in your life, maybe why you thought that was innocent. I also, I don't feel that way. So she was getting a lot of flack for that. At the same time, people started being turned off by that. Old clips of her in interviews just started popping up everywhere. So old stuff with just like different movies, TV shows, even like the old Gossip Girl drama. So like if anyone here watched Gossip Girl, there was always drama kind of afloat, that show of her and Leighton Meester and what was going on there. All of that came back up. And so people were just they were not loving Blake.
Feeling it. Okay.
At the same time, though, there were other rumors being started about Justin Baldoni. So there were people saying that he was like really controlling. He was kind of like a narcissist, that he was commenting on Blake's weight because she had recently had her third baby and telling her that like she couldn't be too heavy so he could lift her in some of the scenes. And then other fans were like, well, he has a bad back. And I'm also just like, how do we know that? But like all these like kind of other weird things were coming out about Justin. So both of them are just having like not a good moment. And we're kind of all like losing the focus, I feel, which is like the film. So it started then, though, to reach like an all-time peak, I would say, for Drama Part 1, where fans finally put together that like Justin, Blake, and Colleen did not do a single promotion of the film altogether. So not once were they all there, which is odd if you think about your main female, your main male, your author,
And your director.
And your director, not once being together. So it people were like, what the hell? And at that point, Justin then hired like a crisis PR management team. And, that was what was happening. And I think it kind of kept swirling and going. And I just want to point out, amongst all this drama, the film still grossed over $100 million in its first week, which I think surpassed what they had ever anticipated. So that's Drama Part 1. And that, again, that was back in like...
girlies.
It's true. And honestly, because there was drama, I didn't read the book, but then I had to go see the movie. I had to. I was like, what's happening here?
You saw it?
You saw it.
Oh, I had to go see it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. It's on Netflix, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, Drama Part 2 is where we're going next. So now months after, it's January, that was August, September, months after the premiere, and what I feel like most of the swirl has died down. Like, I think people kind of have a bad taste in their mouth. Literally. People like have a bad taste in their mouth about certain people, right? Well, Blake Lively filed a sexual harassment complaint against Justin, almost said Joshua. Justin. This was an 80-page complaint filed on December 20th, and it claimed that Justin created a hostile work environment as well as coordinated a planned PR effort to destroy her reputation. Some of the behaviors cited in the complaint includes Justin and another producer being asked to stop sharing naked videos and photos of women to Blake and to stop discussing their past pornography, addictions, or past sexual experiences. And that's just some of it. There were like 4 other things listed. If our listeners want to go seek that out, go for it. I'm not going to list it all. But that just of itself, that blows. Lastly, I will say the suit did include like mention maybe some screenshots of texts between Justin and Blake. And they were subpoenaed in this moment because it was trying to show how Justin was like ruining, like this was planned and ruining her reputation. Then the New York Times publicized the text with like the screenshots, so put it all out for everybody to see. And immediately Justin's lawyers called the claims completely false and that they said Blake was doing this just to like rehab her image, and that's damage control. The lawyer also claimed that Blake's team had made up stories about Justin before the marketing of the film ever happened. So those like weight kind of accusations like were things that her team made up and fed to the media before any of this stuff about her came up. So that's what they're kind of claiming. They also are claiming that those texts are like edited specifically in a way for you to like read it. So it like goes along with the story in which they're telling. And if you see, like one of them was like, he came into her dresser when she was breastfeeding her child naked or whatever. But then if you read the full text, apparently he's like, hey, can we talk about the lines? And she's like, yeah, I'm just breastfeeding. He's like, okay, let me know when to come. And it's like, that was left out. Like she's just claiming that he like came in. So there, who knows, right? Who knows? What's interesting though, is that Colleen then posted on her Instagram story in support of Blake, saying that she's been nothing but kind, honest, supportive, and to never change.
Never will.
And I just never will. It's Lily Bloom. And I feel like at this point, the drama's been set on fire again and people are taking really harsh stances, right? Like now it's like before there was kind of this like back and forth, whose team are you on kind of thing. And now it's like either people are completely flip-flopping and it's like believe women and it's becoming this whole like other story, in my opinion. And then like trash Justin Baldoni and, you know, other people are digging their heels in harder and calling Blake kind of crazy names too. And so it's just like people are getting more extreme, I feel like, with it. And then on December 31st, so a couple days ago, Blake actually formally filed a federal complaint mirroring her prior. So now it's federal. It's not just in the state of California. But that same day, Justin and 9 other plaintiffs responded by filing their own $250 million libel suit against New York Times for posting those texts. Justin's lawyer is saying that he plans to sue Blake and release every text between them. But the other juicy part is like on top of all of this, like between the two of them, Justin's also being sued by his prior publicist because if these like PR campaign thing is true, she's saying he did it behind her back and she had no idea. And so she's suing him. And it's just like, okay.
She's trying to get in on this.
So, and I'm sure there's stuff that I'm missing, right? And I'll say, like, I liked Blake Lively. Like, I loved Gossip Girl. I loved Sisterhood of Traveling Pants. Like, I was a fan. She does have really great hair, so she wasn't wrong for releasing that hair care brand. Like, I got inspo for sure. I did initially get really turned off at her by some of the stuff that was like put out in some of the interviews where I was like, oh my God. And like, I feel like
she is a mean girl.
Yeah. Is she maybe she's really mean or whatever. And at this point, I think and I'm curious your thoughts, but where I'm landing on it is I feel like we're getting caught up in the fact that like they have publicists, they have like crisis PR teams behind them. They're doing this on purpose. They want people really invested in whatever their perspective is, whatever shows up on your For You page.
Yeah. They
want you so bought into it. And what we really should just be focused on is like, what is the truth? And like, not if you like her, like, because at the end of the day, two things can be true. She could be really hard to work with. She could be really demanding. She could be a little bit manipulative. But at the same time, he also could have been doing really fucked up shit on set, showing naked photos and talking about her losing weight. And not that one of those is better or they equal each other, but they could have both been doing this at the same time.
Yeah.
And like, we just have to figure out like, what is the justice that they can get out of this, either of them, and what's the truth, instead of like leaning into these like stereotypes of like, and pulling us apart and making it more of like a flashy thing. That's at least where I'm lying. So I'm just kind of stepping out, watching from afar.
I think I'm in the same place. Like, seriously though, my head is spinning. I feel like there's so much happening around this, and every few hours there's something new that comes out around it. And I feel like their PR teams are working overtime, especially if all of these stories have made it to my timeline. Because I will own, like, I will say, I'm not a Blake Lively fan. Like, back in the day, even, I have to check this bias. I recognize it's a bias, but Blake Lively, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, getting married on a slave plantation, big issue number one for me. And then also just like, I don't think she is particularly talented as an actress. I think she's a beautiful girl. Like, she is great in a lot of other ways, I think, but for what she is famous for, I don't think she's particularly talented. And she is gets a lot of recognition and acknowledgement for being your quintessential, like, pretty girl. And I'm going to say that. That's a bias, and I will own it, and I will check that.
You checked yourself so hard you muted yourself.
I had to check myself.
That's real.
Yeah, but like, that's all I'm, like, all that to say, like, I'll leave that at the door. But one of the things that I think sticks out to me, to your point, Chelsea, is that none of it feels like any of this, we can trust any of this at this point, right? And they continue to just point fingers at each other. Like, I don't know what to believe at this point. I keep going back and forth. And I almost feel like, yes, we do need to take a step back and just really remember why they even started working together in the first place, was to shine light on a serious topic that they have not even talked about this entire time. And I feel like that's where we get lost in all of this chaos. And it's unfortunate that gets kind of pushed to the wayside. I will say, even though I don't like her very much, if her claims are true, I hope they aren't, because no one, like, even if I don't like her, no one should be subjected to whatever she's claiming in those suits. So if they are true, I hope that he, suffers like the full consequence of the law, if they are true. But and especially hope that, like, it continues to shine light on any other women who have less notoriety than her in the industry, that they get their, like, stories kind of listened to too, right? Like, that's hopefully
it could be a big moment,
like, advocacy starts to happen, right? But if she is,
for sure,
if what she's claiming isn't true, which I hope, like, this isn't, like, she isn't just crying wolf, like, I hope that isn't the case. But I feel like if it isn't true, that it could also diminish other future claims by women in the industry, especially if they don't have a notable name like hers, which is so unfortunate, because we know that these things happen in the industry, and it sucks that this is kind of sucking the energy out of shining a light on that. And if she is found liable for, like, defamation or anything like that, I really feel like we have to have a serious talk on how this impacts other sexual assault victims, like that, or sexual harassment victims. Like, it's not okay. But anyway, at the end of the day, I feel like I agree with you, Chelsea. I need to take a step back from it. It's becoming something bigger than I feel like I want to be a part of. And also, it's taking away from what it should really be focusing on. And that's, like, the truth, figuring out, like, what is really going on here. And then also why they started working together in the first place, and covering, why domestic violence should be a serious topic of conversation, right? Like, that's the thing that's pushing me away from it completely. But
anyway. I agree. I think it's right at this point, it feels like a he said, she said in the way that it's playing out in the media, or how people are trying to play it out in the media. I think that's also really important, because there are some real legal things that are happening. I think, the fact that the Justin's PR team, the reason why that they have those text messages is because they were subpoenaed from the person's previous agency. And so they gave those text messages because it was on a work phone. New York Times, people are like, oh, they're just, New York Times is a real journal institution, like journalism, and they don't release things,
they're not just going to release it
lightly.
For fun.
That is not so. Some things that I've seen, because he didn't sue Blake Lively, he
it's libel.
It's probably coming, but it was the New York Times, right? It's not Blake Lively. That is, like, that might come, but it's New York Times, and that could be a thing of, like, do that. I saw some legal thing of, like, you kind of do that, not that you're actually going to win against the New York Times, because the New York Times facts the fuck out of their sources and doesn't release something like that, especially with all these big names.
You're not going to take that risk.
But you're kind of doing that for the publicity. Again, the he said, she said. And what, another thing that's interesting, because I remember Justin Baldoni when he was in
Jane the Virgin,
but he also has this podcast called Man Enough, which is all about, like, helping men, overcome their toxic masculinity. But what was also really interesting is that it's 3 co-hosts on that, and the one female co-host, right after this kind of all got released in that week, she said that she's leaving the podcast and was like, thank you for your support. The follower's been great. I will release more coming out. Whether or not that was timing was because everything that's going down or completely separate, it's an interesting thing to know. And I think it can be really easy. I mean, this is the same PR firm that was part of that Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And I think what it's really telling is how easy it is for people to attack women right away.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. I didn't get
true.
turned off by Blake. I actually, when that started happening, I took a step back and I was like, I am not forming any opinions, because you see this so easily of like, well, she's difficult. She's a mean girl.
Yeah.
And here's all these old clips that all of a sudden start surfacing. Are you kidding me?
As a non-fan of hers, like even that aside, right? I was like, well, if this is actually happening, then it's something serious we need to actually dissect a little bit more.
True.
We can't just be like, oh, I don't like her. Like for me personally, even something that I said to myself, I'm like, I don't like her. But even though if this is happening, and to somebody as notable as her, if it's happening to her, it could be happening to so many other women in the industry, and we know it already is. So like, we can't just dismiss it, you know? So
well, and I feel like I guess I'm saying too, like I was a fan, right? So I was trying to take a step back of like, I'm questioning, because am I just gonna blind go by fandom? Like, am I just gonna say no, she didn't do it because I like her? You know what I mean? So I feel like that's where I got it got you in all different. It got everybody in a different way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it started making you question why you felt that way, which is
because I mean, like her co-stars of that's like one of them being America Ferrara, who's all about like, you know, standing up and women's empowerment, and the fact there's just so many different things. And I also, like, when you look at the timing, you're thinking about this, like this has been in motion for a while, and it might have been in motion before the press tour happened. So that can be really telling. And that a lot of the messaging that she was getting flack for and how she was promoting the movie is said that was how the movie studio and stuff was like telling them that they had to promote it. So then all of a sudden it was because Blake was the star that it was her fault that it was being said this way. And then at the same time, if legal things are happening in the background, you can't comment on certain things. Either you don't want to because then you get in trouble, or that can be like, so it's all really interesting. And, you know, I mean, she was getting kind of under fire, but she also didn't have to. That's one thing I think about with things like this is like, you know, as a female, when you do something like this, you're going to get attacked. And to just like to go do it, even with a big name like Blake, this could completely backfire. And so I think it's a big deal that this is happening, like legally, like these things are going through. And
they didn't even attend the Golden Globes last night because
I read,
you know what I mean? And 2 of his stuff were nominated. Like, it is having an impact, whether, you know, it is impacting their careers in some way, which blows.
Yeah. So like you all said, I'm not going team, you know, Cheston or team Blake. I'm more like, let's wait and see. I also just am paying attention to who's so fast to jump on an attack bandwagon without really knowing all the information. And whatever happens, like you all said, let's not forget that this is a, you know, sexual harassment, domestic violence. Those are very real things that, you know, are happening to so many people. And as best as we can, I hope that at the end of the day, as this kind of plays out, it doesn't smother those people even more or feel like there's no hope there. And in fact, that there is like justice, whatever way it is, that there's justice that is had. And it will be interesting to see how this plays out. Because it's hurting their careers, but you know, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are going to be fine.
They're going to be fine.
They're going to be fine. More than likely, Justin Baldoni, he's going to be fine. It might hit some, like, they're going to be fine. So anyways, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, to your point, I think it's really just like thinking about the folks that may not have the platform or may already, you know, feel, you know, less brave to share their stories. And then whichever way the chips fall on this, if it doesn't end up being, you know, what we think it is, it might just detract from their stories even more. And that's the unfortunate piece. So yeah,
Agree.
a lot. I feel like we're going to hear more. Their PR teams are working
for
overtime.
Sure fucking will.
Clearly. So
there's going to be a 3 and a 4 and a 5. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It'll be my section this year.
But for today, I think we are at a place where we could probably wrap up the pod. Let us know what your thoughts are on the Blake and Justin drama in the comments on Instagram or TikTok at the Sport and Society Squad.
And don't forget to hit follow and subscribe to our show on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple, and turn on notifications so you can stay up to date on all the latest sports and society stories this year in 2025.
Woo! And please, please, please just rate the pod. But in the meantime, stay sharp, stay sassy, and we'll catch you next time.